You recently declared Los Angeles a state of emergency for homelessness. Let's begin by telling me what that means.
Well, state of emergency for homelessness is two things. One, it's saying that there's 25,000 people that will sleep on the streets of this city or without a home tonight. If that's not a state of emergency, I don't know what is. But secondly, it's also about the sense of urgency behind that. A legal pronouncement so that we can get certain funds a little bit early, but also looking at the way that we can make sure that people have a sense of policy urgency to this, because the old way of doing things isn't working, and we need to have more funds, more focus, more collaboration.
Speaking of funds, you're looking for a one-time amount of $100 million to begin this. Explain that.
Well, it'd actually be an ongoing $100 million each year. Right now, it'd be $13 million upfront right away to house as many as 2,000 of those people immediately off the streets. But then long term, it's getting all the way up to $100 million and then continuing $100 million every single year. That also has been matched by the County of Los Angeles. So we're talking about $200 million ongoing while we make a dent in this.
When we here in Los Angeles are in a financial crisis of our own, where do we get hundreds of millions of dollars to help this cause?
At the end of each year, there's always a few dollars left. And a few in a city budget means tens of millions. So it's really about political will, and it'll be from the growth of the budget as well as money that is spent on other things right now being spent on homelessness.
Are you saying this is taxpayer funded and money from the general fund?
Yes, a good portion of it will probably be from our general fund, which we've never done before. We've relied on the state and federal government, which is great, except many years they don't give us anything or give us very little.
Obviously, mayors and governors across the country for years have used the quote-unquote state of emergency as a ploy to get federal funds. Is this part of what you're doing, to be honest?
Absolutely. We're telling our federal and state partners we all have a responsibility.
Let's be honest, is this an effort in futility?
In the past, we used to give services on the street, like giving somebody a meal or medical help, but that would keep them on the street. Or we'd give them housing, but with nothing that came with the apartment, so they'd fall out of that housing because of mental health challenges, substance abuse, job needs, etc. We're now marrying the two together. It's called permanent supportive housing. So we get people off the streets, and if they have a medical problem, from diabetes to an addiction, the best thing they can have is actually being in housing to stabilize their condition and then treat whatever it is that they have. So we know how to do this. It is a different day than in the past where we used to just cauterize the wounds. We know now how to heal them.
That's the billion-dollar question. How do you deal with their mental illness?
Well, Mitch Katz, who heads up the county's health department, and I sat down earlier this year, and he said, look, as a doctor, if I find somebody on the street who has schizophrenia, who is treating that schizophrenia with some drug that they buy off the street illegally, that has diabetes because they're not taking care of themselves, as a doctor, what's the best prescription for them? Is it to try to get them into something for their diabetes? Is it to give them medicine for their schizophrenia? To get them into recovery for their addiction? He said, no, it's housing. Because once they're in housing, it's less loud than on the street. The voices stop. I can start treating their schizophrenia. They're not going to do as much drugs because they're not hearing those voices. And then we can turn to their diabetes. So the best thing that we can do for mental health is to actually get people in housing.
I'm still trying to grapple with the fact, is it a fixable solution?
I know that it's a fixable solution. It's not to say we won't ever find homeless people out there, because wars and people being released from criminal justice system, foster youth emancipating will always cause people to be on the streets or without a home. But how quickly can we get them out of that? We now have a model that works. The question is, will we have the political will to fund it?